to the 126th episode of Sawdust Nation podcast with your host, Nick from MPG Creations, Nat from Nat Snotty Works LLC, and myself, Josh from North Country Woodworking. We got an episode for you today, just in time for that Thanksgiving dinner. Gobble Gobble. Let's start off with Nick from MPG Creations with the 5 o'clock shadow, Voeltner woodworking hat, and the crazed look in his eye.
Dude, I didn't even know. I forgot we were recording tonight. They're calling me. They're like, hey, are you coming? And I didn't even get a text message until Josh called me because I've had my headphones in. So I didn't recognize that there was any tone going on or anything like that. Like, I don't have it to where it's set up so I can hear texts coming in. So the reason I'm kind of frazzled right now is I am racing to get all of the rest of my orders workload that's due now until the end of the new year done. I have stopped taking orders, and as previously stated, we were looking at new houses, and now we are set to close in December. So
congrats, man.
I'm hauling cheeks, man. I'm trying to keep the quality up and the efficiency up, and I'm trying to keep motivated to get all this stuff done, because once it happens, once I close, then it's like dismantling the shop and moving everything mode. So I'm probably going to do it in stages where I'm only moving like 5 miles away. So, but I'm working on a flag right now. I've got some glass on the laser. Just like 2-3 things always going on at the same time as of, well, this week I took the week off so I could help do this and watch the kids because they're off school. So I drove down to High Texas today to drop off part of the partial order for ornaments. And I drove up to High Texas, actually, because they're about an hour and a half north of San Antonio. Stopped by, got a couple of bottles of bourbon, and made my U-turn and came back. And immediately got to work in the shop, and I've been there ever since. So what's kind of cool is a couple of makers have reached out to me lately and just asking for some assistance. There's a guy on base here who just got an OMTech 60 watt, and he posted it up on Instagram, and so I was like, oh, hey, cool. If you need any help, let me know. And he's like, no, I got it. I'm like, okay, cool. So then he calls me a couple times and, 3-4 times about some stuff. It's all good. We appreciate you supporting the brand. But anyway, other than that, I had another gentleman stop by today. I was cutting juice grooves on his cutting board he was making for a mutual friend of ours. So I didn't even charge him for it. It was like literally 3 passes on the CNC and it was done. You know what I mean?
Which CNC?
The old one. I'm no longer pursuing getting the new one ready until it gets into the new shop. But I have been pricing out. So here's what I want to talk about a little bit. Shop flooring. I think we don't really talk about it too much. I've noticed some people, if you're renting, it's harder to invest in a floor for your shop. However, some people have hardwood or the laminate floors in their shop. Some people have like the rolled on epoxy floors. And I used to have rubber mats on my floors when I was in New Jersey. And I noticed there was a difference between how I would feel at the end of the night when I was working in the shop in New Jersey and how I feel now, because it's just a concrete floor. So I spoke with a couple different people around the community about different types of flooring and what they would recommend, and most cost effective versus the Gucci versus what's going to be easier on your joints. And I'm in between a spray on like rubberish epoxy kind of floor and just paying some day laborers to put in some laminate flooring I can get for like 99 cents a square foot. So what do you guys think?
Well, it depends. Like, if you think this is going to be your forever home, which it sounds like it's going to be based on every decision you've made so far, I would go with something that could be long-term beneficial to yourself, health-wise, and to the shop. That's going to hold up. That's going to be pricey on your wallet, because anytime we do something that is beneficial for both us and the shop, it's never cheap, but it's a long-term investment. So I would go with the rubber-based epoxy because that's going to be good for you and your shop. I have actually never heard of that. So I'd like, a little more info on it myself. But if it's going to help your back, knees, and everything else, and yet maintain a healthy, dynamic shop where you can move stuff around, that's where I'd go with that.
By you, Nap.
I would definitely say the rubber stuff too, because you see it in like industrial areas, especially with people that do stand a lot. Now, if I'm going from ground up, okay, let's just say I'm building my shop, right? And obviously you're kind of going from ground up, but your garage is already built. So this is kind of like out of the realm for you at this moment. But when I build my shop, how I want to do floors is I actually want to incorporate something I saw from a guy, actually the guy that gets the wood for me from Bismarck. He has a water tank outside of his shop that's heated, and he actually has PEX plumbing that goes under his floor that supplies hot water under his flooring, and it actually radiates up and keeps his shop like a constant temp.
Okay.
He's like, yeah. I was like, so what? I was like, how do you heat your garage? Because I see he's got like a little heater here, a little heater heating there. Yeah, he's got this floor heating, and I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, because I'm already running water, and it's just circulating. It's not like it's pumping all the time or whatever. So yeah, it just heats. It literally heats his floor and is recycled over and over and over, just heating his garage. I would do something like that, and then of course, what you're saying, like the rubber epoxy flooring type deal. But even maybe putting a little added like mats or something in the garage, because you got your basic rubber epoxy or whatever. But like if there's like a certain station, like say your standing station, sure that could be good. But if you put something a little extra, that might even not be too bad of an idea either. But that's probably what I would do if I was building ground up. But with your particular situation, I'd say rubber epoxy is probably your best bet.
Okay, so I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I am leaning towards laminate flooring, and there's a reason for that.
Oh, Lord.
I know you guys have already explained your concerns.
8 minutes in the episode, we're pulling for epoxy, and he's like, yeah, fools.
I'm leaning towards laminate, and here's the reason why. It might not be my forever home. I haven't like made that kind of commitment to it yet. However, so say you put down laminate flooring and you get a boatload of it because it's so cheap. It's 99 cents a square foot. And I just found out, by the way, I was doing rough estimates on a shop that was like 500 square foot. I just found out today that my new shop's going to be 630 square feet. So I'm super happy about that. But on the same time, it's making me like double take as like, all right, so not the whole entire floor is not going to get jacked up. All right. There's mostly going to be if I pour epoxy somewhere or if I spill paint or whatever. I'm not too concerned. It's a sacrificial floor at the end of the day because of the cost effectiveness of putting it in. If you get extra, you could just pull up the floor and replace it with new pieces, right? And I don't foresee that being an issue. Like say 10 years from now, maybe be like, oh shoot, I can't find the same laminate, but I bought enough to last me 10 years for, let's say $600. I think that's pretty darn good. I also think that those floors give a little more than the epoxy would directly on the concrete. What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, you do have a little bit more bounce there, but I mean, I would go with almost what Knapp says with that, because any station that you might get something on the floor, you can have one of those rubber mats down to help both with standing there and then for catching stuff.
But see, honestly, I'm not a fan of the rubber mats. What's that?
Really? You're not a fan of the rubber mats? No.
So I'll give you a reason why. It's because every time I'm trying to walk steady and carry something, one of the corners peels up and I trip and eat shit. I trip.
So what you're telling me is you're klutzy.
I'm klutzy. So I'll trip over the mat. And next thing I know, like I've lost a project. I've lost a couple projects due to me tripping and them falling out of my hands and smashing into the floor.
This is coming from the guy that his entire shop while he was here, This entire floor is lined with this stuff.
Well, those were stall mats for horse stalls, but yeah, the same concept.
Same, yeah.
Well, I thought it would have been a good idea. Oh, and another thing, like, so you got to do what you can afford, and I would be able to afford to do either or, but I do want to save some on the flooring so I can invest in my HVAC for the shop as well. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that makes sense.
I want it all, and I want it now. I don't want to wait till I'm sweating my you know what off in the shop to be like, man, this epoxy floor is nice, but man, I'm melting all over the place in here. You know what I mean? Hey, so off that entire topic, you ever hear of SPE Tools? SPE Tools?
I have.
No.
Yeah, so they make router bits, and they make bits for your CNC. And these guys, and God bless them, they were advertising today, and they added a group of 50 makers into a group chat on Instagram. And it turned into this whole session where people were just like talking about like, why are we here? You know what I mean? And then it just turned into a giant maker meetup that we weren't even talking about router bits or anything like that. So and they're nowhere to be found, right? Like their marketing person, whoever added all these people, was just like he or she posted an ad in the group for their Black Friday sale, and then they freaking bounced. So like there's 50 of us and they're like, what are we doing here, guys? And everybody just starts talking about CNC and whatever else. It was kind of funny. Way to go, SPE Tools. We love you.
We've brought you here today to I have no idea.
I know, right? Like literally people asking, why am I here? So, but yeah, that's all that's going on in my shop and in my life right now. I close in December. I'm excited, and I'm just getting it. Thanks. I'm exhausted, but I'm super happy. So, what about you, Nap?
Well, I'm a lot happier today. I was pretty happy last podcast too, but I'm a lot happier today because the PETA project. For those that know what PETA is, if you listen back to a couple of the episodes with Matt Voeltner, he, puts out what PETA is. But I finished this project finally, the 4 miniature shadow boxes. I actually put the final clear coat on a few hours ago, and they're dry now. They're sitting behind me. And screw it, I'll just show one of them because why not, So I got to clean the glass on some of them, but this is them. And yeah, I mean, I'd say they came pretty good. I just put a reel up a minute ago, putting like, okay, here's the concept, and then this is what I got. I'm pretty happy to be done with them. They'll go out tomorrow. And then I'm finishing up another going away for a guy in San Antonio, which I finally dabbled and tried my hand in the old acrylic stuff. And for those watching, this was my first acrylic rendition. Nick has already seen this thing. I think I did a pretty good job with the different colors. I think I'm going to be doing a little more acrylic work. I've actually taken a liking to it for certain things. I did it for this because, okay. So we had an episode a while back called Epoxy Nightmares, and I'm like going through what we're going to do for this project. They said, hey, can you do this, this, and this? We're going to send you this. It's a fabric flag. Can you mount it? I'm like, well, I could mount it, but I never really mounted a flag on a plaque before. I've only done like the hangers with, the guide on and all the things. And then they go, can you do something like this? And the picture hadn't come through yet, and I already knew what they were going to ask. I was like, you want epoxy, don't you? ... And then the picture came through. I was like, I knew it. And I was like, I could do that. But here, let me try something else. So that's when the acrylic came into play. I said, I can do something out of acrylic. And I did like a little test piece, which was a lot smaller than that for like the eagle, because that was really the part that I was the most worried about. The rest was like, okay, they're bigger pieces. No big deal. The eagle was no different from the smaller version to this version. Those pieces were such a pain to put in there. I've got 3M, on the 3M adhesive on the back. And I'm sitting here peeling the brown paper off the protective layer and then flipping it peeling off the stick and sticking it. And I'm telling you right now, I spent at least an hour and a half to 2 hours doing this. And it really only got tedious on the tiny pieces. How you do that, which you see many makers do this with like plywoods, more epoxy. Even Nick has shown a couple things out there. You make the outline. You make like you do black, you make your outline, and then you place it, and then you start putting the pieces. Well, the Eagle outline, some of the lines were like, I'm telling you, like thinner than paper thin. Like they were just, they were fragile. So the first one, you guessed it, I broke that sumbitch. And I was like, well, I guess I got to make another one. Now, mind you, it's not a big piece. And I actually had scrap acrylic laying around. So this goes back to another conversation we had when we were talking about acrylic stuff with Nick and like wastefulness. And I think we were talking really just about wastefulness of material, period. And then we started talking about the acrylic and like wasting space on that. Well, I had previous projects that I had scrap acrylic left. So I'd put them on the saw stop, turn them into rectangles, squares, and those things. And I only used half of an actual sheet that I had here of acrylic for all of it. One of which was obviously for the pennant itself, because the pennant's larger than any scrap piece I had. And then I used it for any other like little pieces. So I still have a half a sheet that's good enough for one large shadow box. So no real waste there, which is awesome. And I have a whole nother sheet still sitting here for whatever other projects. So there's that. I used a lot of that. Why can't I think of the acrylic brand's name? The one that a lot of people have been starting to use is the black brand. What is that? Do you guys remember? It's like crap. I can't remember for the life of me. But they're a really, really popular brand of acrylic spray paints. But I used a lot of those colors, which, by the way, I got to say, hats off. That stuff is awesome. Like one good coat, dried. I put it up to the light to make sure there was no like light coming through. And there was maybe like a couple spots because, of me misspraying or not just spraying enough in that area. But one good solid coat, one quick coat, and it was dry within, I want to say maybe 10 minutes. I was throwing 3M on there and then throwing in the laser and cutting it. So I can definitely tell you from a production standpoint, that acrylic paint is absolutely amazing. And once Josh gets it, he can give him a shameless plug here.
Montana,
that's what it is.
Okay.
Yes, Montana spray paints. They have some awesome color selections. And I'm going to tell you, I honestly, like you can go to like Home Depot, Lowe's and get like your other paints from there, but that stuff takes forever to dry because a lot of it's got like that oil base or, just the extra stuff. It just stays wet for a while. Where acrylic paints, they just dry faster. They just do. So I use a lot of that, especially for that project there. And then I've got a couple easy ones, thankfully. And I call them easy because there's no real construction to be done. One is I'm going to cut a circle and put that logo I talked about last podcast, the Chargers logo, but with their team name instead of Chargers, it'll be their recruiting team name. And I'll put that on a piece of cherry. I'm going to use those Montana paints again to paint the acrylic and send it on its way. And then I got that coin rack for Ben. It's going to be a simple one because he's like, well, we could do a circle with an emblem on it and stuff. I was like, how about this? How about we do a rectangular coin rack, holds roughly 20 coins, and I'll put all the symbols of the DOD on there. Mm-hmm. And because his son-in-law is going to get coins from not just one branch. He's going to get from all different branches because he works with a multitude of different folks. So he's already got 3. So I got to make this thing soon because, if he's already got 3 within the past month, I'm sure he's going to get a lot more. And he'll need someone to put those. And then, of course, I got the couple long-term projects, but I've talked a lot about those in other podcasts. See what else. I got to clean my shop. My shop is absolutely wrecked. It's, again, the vicious cycle. You start making projects, and I'm sure, Nick, your place probably looks like a damn tornado hit it because you're trying to do all these projects, and you're like, oh, I could put this away, but wait, I might need this again in like 10 minutes. So I'm just going to leave it right here.
That's just always, though.
And it just sits there, and you don't use it, and you're like, son of a bitch. And then the next tool comes out, and then the next solvent or spray paint or pencil or pen, tape measure, whatever. Hell, material. I got corkboard and plywood everywhere. So there's that. I got pieces of felt everywhere from the shadow boxes. It's a wreck. But I can say I've stayed pretty warm in the shop. It's a smooth 60 degrees in the garage right now, which is pretty nice. But one thing I've been learning, which I knew this already, but I didn't think 55 degrees would affect it too much. But spraying rattle cans, it's if the temperature's not right and you don't shake the hell out of those things, warm them up a little bit, they don't spray right. I learned that with the water-based polyacrylic because it dries fairly fast. I would use Totalboat Halcyon, but right now I could say that I'm trying to work on dust factor first, and like figuring out a process to finish with Halcyon and not have to like sand it a bunch of times because it looks like crap because of pieces of whatever just floating on the surface. Because the air gun sprays and pushes more dust than let's say a rattle can does. So I'm working on that right now so I can start using my beloved brand, Totalboat Halcyon, because that stuff is awesome. Let's see. I also talked to Nick about this. It's something I'm toying around with. So my boss, he uses an airbrush gun. Mm-hmm. And what I thought about doing was getting an airbrush kit because you can control volume and air pressure and all these things, and it'll spray a fine mist, and it'll help get in like the really hard to paint areas. Like for example, with these shadow boxes. So I had these stripes and all these things. Well, I use a rattle can on it, and I had to go at all these different angles to get in all the cracks and crevices with the risk of bleed through, which luckily had no bleed through. The first two I ended up using tape and whatnot, but I'll talk about that in a second. But I want to get this airbrush because I feel like it's going to bring the finishing game to a whole different level. And because it's more, I guess, maybe a smaller footprint than, say, getting a huge paint booth and all these things. And trying to keep, I don't know. I just feel it's just going to be easier for me to use. And then I can also put finish in there too. I can put, lacquers or the Halcyon and those things.
It depends exactly what kind of brush setup you get.
Well, I'm sure. And that's what the research is going to have to be done. And I'm sure someone listening to this will reach out because there's been a lot of people that reach out after listening to episodes and those things. And it's been pretty cool. And people actually asking like, oh, what about this? Or have you thought about this? And it's really nice to like actually get some feedback from folks on like processes that we do in the shop. And then let's see, what else? Airbrush. Okay, so the masking. So last one I talked about, the adult version of Mask. So it's this AVID vinyl, and it's I got the yellow kind because whatever, that's the one I saw used. So I used it, and I prepped it all the same. I put, the clear coat over the acrylic base, and I stuck this stuff to it. It carves very clean. I can say that, but with any masking, you're still going to get like your couple hang-ups, depending on what bit you're using. Josh, we were talking about this before the podcast. But I had very minimal, and all of the cuts were clean. And all I had to do was just, razor blade that little piece off and put a little piece of tape in its place just to hold it down so I didn't get no overspray under the tape or vinyl. And, put so none of the white got blue, essentially. But yeah, so I would definitely use it. It's an AVID vinyl or AVID stencil vinyl, something or another. You'll find it you can find it on Amazon or just Google it, one of those two things. But yeah, with the holidays coming up, I got a 4-day weekend. I'll be able to knock out the rest of these small jobs and then enjoy my weekend. So it's nice. I know Nick's like balls to the wall right now. I'm kind of sort of busy, but not so busy anymore. It's nice having a few projects here and there, make a couple dollars, and then move on.
Are you going to put any flooring in your shop?
No, not right now. It's too damn cold for that.
To put in flooring?
Yeah, I ain't doing this. I got to move all the garage for that.
We're going to have to cut this whole segment because he can't stop saying he can't stop saying.
It's okay. Crap. Sorry. But no. So yeah,
Josh is over here like, I'm going to have to edit this tonight. This I can't believe I just asked him not to curse.
But yeah, no, I would have to take everything out of the shop to put flooring down. So flooring is not an option.
Put it all inside the house. You'd be okay. I'm sure.
No, the wife would absolutely destroy me. And she's sick right now. So that's bad news bears. But Josh, dude, what's going on in your shop?
So it's been an interesting week. I actually got quite a bit done out in the shop and around. Start off with a couple of different pieces of software that I'm starting to work with. The first is an iPad piece of software that you can download from, the Play Store or iTunes, whatever. And it works really good with a stylus on your iPad. It's called Nomad Sculpt. And essentially what it's used for is you can create a 3D piece of art and then 3D print it. So like if you're trying to create your, something for the holidays and you want to build a Santa Claus or a little elf or, anything like that, figurine type thing, you can go ahead and do that. Starts off as a circle. There's other choices, and basically you sculpt it, and then you can download the STL and you can print it out. So been working with that, trying to figure out, different things I could do with it. Within 20 minutes, I had something I could print out. So there's a lot of capability behind this piece of software, and it's mobile. So there's even more for it, and free. I haven't run into any of the paid portion, which I'm sure there is, but it works pretty well, and I'm happy with the progress I'm making with it. The second is I've been looking for a piece of design software that's not going to cost me an arm or leg and maybe my left nut to basically own and not have to pay monthly or, not have to pay like $1,000 for. And that's kind of difficult because Adobe owns the floor when it comes to design software. I mean, granted, their product is incredible, but so is the price tag.
And then it's not even, you don't own it. It's like you rent it from them. I think it's subscription, isn't it?
It is. You could buy the yearly rate, and then even then, it's just ridiculous. And it's one of those things where like I'm not there as a business to be able to afford that kind of bill for 4 different pieces of software. So I'm looking over at Affinity Design, and they have 3 different portions to their software. It's like photo, design, and then like almost like an Illustrator type thing. And they've had a Black Friday sale, and I'm thinking about purchasing that. I'm using a 30-day free trial to get familiar with it, using my sketchpad and stylus to kind of feel it out. And it seems to be pretty intuitive, doing the things I need it to do. So it's probably going to be a part of my arsenal here soon. But if anyone has been using it and has any kind of...
What are you trying to do?
I'm setting myself up so I can do designing my own files for my 3D printers,
okay.
and additional SVG files. I'm tired of buying SVG files when I know I can make them if I have the right stuff. I've done it before. I did it in high school. I've done it since, but I'm working with Lightburn and
it's money.
Inkscape. It's good, but it's difficult for very in-depth SVGs.
I don't know, man.
So the stuff I'm trying to create is something I want to be able to whip out real quick and go ahead and put it on the webpage and make some money off of and make those digital files.
Whip it out real quick.
So,
and then slap it on the webpage.
Exactly.
Just tap it on its chin.
Yep, as quick as you can. Don't worry about how, sharp those corners
I would like to say that I think that, so for all of my design, like initial design before I throw it into CNC software, I will use Inkscape, Lightburn, and then every now and then I'll jump over to something else to help me out. But those 2 right there are like, Naps is pouring one out for his homies. But those 2 right there, I think, are a very, very cost-effective and time-efficient solution. No, that's just for like
You're not wrong.
2D, right? Like that's like you're coming up with a 2D image. Now, what you want, obviously, you're going to need something that you can make 3D stuff with.
I am trying to produce what the goal here is to, instead of paying someone else to trace a squadron patch, because it's pretty complicated and something you can't really reproduce in Lightburn quickly, is something that I'll be able to do.
Well, you could.
I know I have the capability and design background for it. I just need to make sure I get the program and the right resources to help me do it quickly. I could do it in Lightburn, but it's going to take me forever.
I know a couple of bootleggers out there that do it, and it's like $20 a file. Nap knows this guy. He's really good. What you could do,
I use them all the time.
What you could do is just like take that file, since you paid for it, throw that up there. I know it's not authentic, but you get some ROI on your investment,
You're right. Absolutely right. But I want to be able to do it so I don't pay him $20 and people start paying me $20.
Well, they won't pay you $20. They pay you like $3.50 a file every time they download it,
That's happening.
Well, no.
That's going to happen.
But people can approach me with a patch and say, hey, I need this turned into SVG. I could do that for $20, $25, and then take that file and to go ahead and sell it on my page for $4 a pop and make that money that way.
Okay, you want the capability and the initial bang for the buck. I mean, I don't know. I'd outsource to the Philippines for that.
Yeah, I've done that, and the Philippines didn't provide exactly what I wanted. I could have done better at the time.
My guy's Nap's guy, and our guy's.
Your guy was the guy I went to.
Well, you gotta tell him.
I did better with my own.
You gotta tell him. Yeah, he takes the feedback. Like, yeah, it's not what I want, and then you tell him what you want, and he fixes it.
I did, and he took forever, and I couldn't wait that long, so I did it myself, and it turned out better. It's not against him. It's just, like I said, I have the capability and know-how. I need to make the process faster, and I'm sick and tired of outsourcing when I know I can do it in-house. It's as simple as that. That's because I want to have multitude of incomes when I retire, and that's one of the things I want to start doing because it's easy. You're on a computer, you design it, you can sell it twice essentially, and they continue selling on your page. I know people that are doing this, and they're making lots of money because everyone's buying a silhouette of a plane for $2 a pop. You know what I'm saying? And they have like 2,000 sales. You know, it's worth it. It's worth a little bit of time to make a file and be able to sell it like that. So that's the Affinity Design portion of that. I could use Lightburn and I could use Inkscape, but with the drawing pad I have in Stylus, it doesn't really cooperate too well with those programs. And with a drawing pad, it's a lot easier to produce these items than it is to do with a mouse, at least for me. So I'm working with that. I'm trying to get that complete. That's the program side of everything. Just completed a project tonight. It was delivered tonight. I found out that the client lived like 4 doors down from me because I was like, hey, I could deliver this tomorrow. What's your address? And they're like, yeah, it's Juniper Street, whatever number. I'm like, that's like 3 doors down. So I walked it over and handed it off. Saved on gas and everyone's time. And they were pretty happy with it. They're probably going to get a hold of me with another one. So I'm kind of dialing in that project itself.
What is it?
I like to get, it's the United States Air Force Professional Military Education.
Oh, hey, that one.
Logo.
Yeah.
Hey, I used to work there.
I had to redo it, and it took a minute painting because my acrylics, I haven't used them in a while, so I had to shake them up quite a bit to get the true color out.
Oh, you painted it?
The first little half I did. Yeah, that's the one I had to paint because that's what they wanted. I tried to do acrylic, and they really weren't going for it. So,
how long did it take you to paint that, though?
There's only like 3 colors. The outside border was all black, which I did in spray paint, and then there's white, yellow, blue, and red, and then a black on the bottom. So
nice. So anytime people have me paint stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, it's gonna be ridiculous price now. I hate painting so much. Nap knows. Nap hates painting too.
I don't want to talk about it.
But I priced this out for them. I did another one of these for them a while back before I was messing with acrylic or even had the laser. So they already knew the price point. So I wasn't going to raise it because I didn't want to paint. You know what I'm saying? I'll try to talk them to acrylic as we go along if I get more orders. It's just one of those things where it wasn't that bad. I was using Aura Mask, so basically I could be a little messier as I went along. It wasn't really all that fine. The only thing that really cost me time was the globe, because if you weren't careful, you would dip into the white space and then you would have to paint that over and back and forth. So that took me a little while, but it's no big deal. With that project, it was a spray paint issue. So I was applying the clear coat, and I had some reason the clear coat right next to the black spray paint. I blindly reached over and I grabbed the black spray paint, and I was just about to spray it all over the actual project before I stopped myself, because the clear coat I have is almost empty and the black is a little bit is almost brand new can. And I looked at the can just in time before I just spray paint that finished project entirely black. So that would have been pretty bad. It just goes to show you, be careful what you're doing. Don't work in the garage too late, because you might make an expensive mistake.
Done that multiple times.
Yeah. Well, it's not just us. I was looking at some social media, and a guy came into a shop the next day. He was a blacksmith, and his shop was filled with smoke. and a ember from his fire or something else landed on some, I think a log or something, and like burned all night, causing it basically to smoke his entire shop up, and it didn't burn down. He caught it, I guess, just in time. And he was like, I was up until like 3:00 in the morning. I come out here and the shop's full of smoke. I am, totally grateful it didn't burn down. But what it came down to was those late nights when you think you have, all your ducks in a row, you might not because you're so tired. So just be careful.
Yeah, watch your ducks.
Make sure they're in a row. And then the last is that chest. So basically, the only thing that's stopping me from just knocking it out is I'm trying to figure out how to do these finger joints. And I've been doing a lot of research on it. And basically what it comes down to is it's a pretty large board I'm messing with. It's at least 20 by 40. So it's quite big. It's not something I want to be monkeying around with on the table saw and even the router table. So I needed some kind of jig that's going to fit that. Unfortunately, the Porter cable dovetail jig I have only goes up to 12 inches, which I could do 10-inch sections and try it that way. I thought about doing that, but then we're messing around with if you mess up just enough, you could be in some trouble. So I started looking around, and on Woodhaven, the website, they have a jig there that does anywhere from 1/2 inch to 2-inch finger joints. So any large furniture or any more of these trunks wouldn't be an issue. The only downside that I see from this jig is that, you can only do one finger at a time, essentially, because it references the prior finger and then clamps on. So it won't be as fast as a traditional method, but you'll be able to do a wide variety of pieces of furniture with box joints, finger joints. So I'm kind of contemplating getting that, having that in the wood shop, just to make life easier when it comes to these different projects. Because just hearing these two gentlemen's tales of making their chests, trunks, sometimes it gets a little hairy.
I like a hairy
and you have
chest.
to line things up perfectly.
A hairy trunk sometimes too.
I know you do. Long story short here, I think I'm going to grab that. It's going to definitely pan out in the long run and make life just a little easier. It might take a little longer to finish it, but if I want to do any other huge projects that call for a bigger finger joint, it might be worth it. I know we have quite a few woodworkers out there listening, so if you guys have a better jig out there that you think would work perfect, let me know. There's different ways to accomplish this. I'm just looking for the best way to do it.
Do something it by hand.
It's going to feel safe. No. Anyway.
You kill yourself a woodworker. Come on now. You got chisels.
Yeah, look. Really? I've never seen you do a hand
I've
joint.
done a hand job before.
Were you skiing?
Oh, man.
Story time.
Do you really want to know that story? Exactly.
Oh, so, hey, I have to mention somebody real quick. I have to mention Tim Messer from Messer Woodworks. Here's your shout out. He's in the group chat. He's in that group chat. He's like, mention us all by name so we can get some followers. Follow Tim Messer at Messer_Woodworks on Instagram. He's a woodworker. I haven't even seen his stuff. I'm just mentioning it.
Well, we'll have to check him out. I've been doing everything from software, learning that, to basically, things in the shop. My shop's also a mess, but it's more just dust. It's vacuuming and blowing the shop out at one point in time. But it's been getting it down pretty cold at night here. And if I open that door for any length of time, all the heat that's in the shop gets out fairly fast. And all that cast iron basically holds that cold. So I've been trying to avoid that and, continue on getting these projects knocked out. I've had a lot of interest in different projects and pricing, and I've had to deal with some interesting clients. But we'll see when it comes to actually getting invoiced and getting paid. But that's what's happening in my shop.
This past week, it was like a quick job. I was like, when's it due? They're like, 1st of December. I was like, really? That's like super close, And I told them how much I would do it for. And they're like, okay, cool. I'm like, all right, I'll send the invoice now. And they're like, cool, I'll pay the invoice when I see a mock-up of it on your software or whatever. I was like, okay, I'll get you the mock-up like 3 days before it's due. He's like, well, wait, you don't, I mean, you need to, I'm like, look, man, you're in line, dude. It's not like I can just I have nothing going on. I was waiting around for you to call me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you got to drop everything for him, man.
So I was, passive aggressive, whatever. But I was just being like, look, if you'd have paid the invoice or whatever and asked for a mock-up, I would have still gotten you that mock-up like 3 days before it was due, because it's literally just a cutout of something with an etch on it. It's like really simple. Nap's taking his clothes off.
Oh, chicka, wow.
Actually, I have something funny about a customer, and it's not my customer. So my buddy Ron, I talk to him almost every week.
Burgundy?
Ron, I am Ron Burgundy. Who typed a question mark on the teleprompter? But no, my buddy Ron over at Splinter Customs on the OIG, he messaged me something funny. Like, it was the beginning of our conversation. He goes, I hate when you text and send a picture of a proposed project and they half beep answer. They want to change and don't freaking answer. I can tell you right now, I can level with that wholeheartedly. I hate when you go, yeah, this is what you're going to get. And they go, oh, sweet. And then you're in the middle of doing it. And then they go, oh, but we want this. And then you're like, okay. So then you send it to them, and then they don't send you like an answer until like 3 or 4 hours later. And you're like, okay, listen. First you want something, and then you change your mind. But then you don't answer when I give you the proposed change. Yeah, so, that's when I'm charging extra.
Oh, that's what Voeltner call it? The
PETA charge.
PETA charge. So check it out. I had this dude reach out to me like 2 months ago asking if I could make Christmas ornaments for his whatever organization. And I was like, yeah, just get me the SVG or the vector graphic or whatever. So if I have to convert it, then it's going to cost more, but let me know, He waits till like 2 weeks ago, gets it to me, and he's like, we want them CNC'd, and they're like really intricate designs, but we want them to be 3 inches by 3 inches in like as far as diameter. I'm like, dude, you realize that like CNCing that is that small is going to like potentially be tear out. It's going to be a pain in the rear to get it to look the way you want it to look and still have the definition of what you want to see. And even then I can't guarantee that it's going to turn out to like nice. He's like, all right, well, what do you recommend? I was like, I recommend making them a little bigger and having them laser etched. Like 3 inches small ornament with a bunch of like intricate designs inside of it is doable with a laser. But if you like widen it up a little bit, make it like maybe 4 inches wide, it gives you a little bit more breathing room to see the design, see the fine lines and stuff like that if they're in there. He CC'd some guy who's like the head of the organization on the email, and they're like, no, we want them 3 inches by 3 inches. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. I'll do, and this is a substantial order. And I was like, I will do a full scale mock-up, like a proof that what this looks like, because I don't think you're going to be happy with the work you're going to get. You just, some people, you can't tell anything until you actually do it and show them. So it literally took me 10 minutes, but I did the front and the back, and I sent them pictures of it. And this was the 17th of November. So 5 days ago. Radio silence, dude. Haven't heard boo from them. So I'm like, I mean, oh well. At least I provided to them a service of showing them. I did it on scrap and on my free time or whatever. Didn't cost me much, but it would have cost me on a bunch of business if they'd have turned out like dog crap, and then they would have been like, "Where'd you get those?" Because we're not ordering from that person ever again. You know what I mean? I had to do like a in my head, what do you call it? A risk analysis on that. Like if I don't do it, then they're going to think that I don't know, they're going to think that I don't want the job, or that I just, I'm incompetent. I don't know what I'm doing. And if I do it and I do it for them for money, then they're going to be mad at me then too. So I had to show them. I hope they don't message me. Oh, and that's another thing. They're like, we want them by 5 December. I was like, okay. Like, you know, a couple weeks ago, that was potentially doable, right? If they email me back now and they're like, yeah, we're good to go. Let's do this. I'm like, I don't think so. I don't think so, Tim. I think we're gonna put a halt on that. You guys kind of waited too long because now we're approaching December.
Yeah, you gotta be careful of that kind of stuff. People will do that all the time. In fact, a couple of the clients I was talking about during my part of the shop, I've talked to, gave them prices to. They want everything. You know, most of these people want it by Christmas, which, you know, is a little ways away, but still, I have a big project due in that time and some other stuff, and you know, family time. And it's like, I'll reach out if it's been a day or two, and I'll be like, you know, are you still interested in this? Would you like to start the order or whatnot? That way, like, if they don't get back to me in like a week and now we're pressing on time, it's on them. I did my due diligence by reaching back out to them, asking them, you know, if they're going to do the order.
I would do that normally. I would reach back out and be like, hey, what are you guys thinking for that design? Is it going to work or we need to change it, right? Or whatever. But yeah. I mean, like, I'm not going to reach out now. I mean, even so, I was so busy as it was. I was like, it's, you know.
Yeah, that makes sense, though.
Man, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to have you waste my time when I have a lot of stuff to do.
Yeah,
I'm thinking about giving starting to do this in my invoices, give like a, if it's something months out, like 10-day, or like a reasonable amount of time drop dead date. Like, hey, if you don't pay the invoice by this date, then I can't guarantee that you're going to get the project, or I can't guarantee you're going to get it on time. I can't guarantee you're going to get, you know, then I can put it in my queue. Essentially, that's how I've been working those. Like, hey, I make you an invoice. I expect you to pay it before I even start. And granted, now mind you, like, these aren't large jobs, like thousands and thousands of dollars, which I would understand. Be like, hey, man, I'll take a deposit up front in that case. But if you want $500 worth of Christmas ornaments, I mean, I'm not going to take a deposit on that. I want the full thing up front, man. That's not enough for me to be like, well, that's, you know, you're calling me from you're contacting me from an organization. I think that there should be some courtesies suspended when you have a lower costing item, I guess you could say, as opposed to like, obviously, large commercial signage or something like that. Like, hey, the rest is due upon delivery, or even furniture for that matter. Like, I need a deposit for half of what you're going to pay for this. For one, I need to know you're serious. For two, if I buy the materials for this and start, and you stiff me, I'm going to be out time and money. And you know what I mean? Like, this other stuff's kind of chintzy, I guess you could say.
And it makes sense. I mean, like, for clients, when they want a large job that costs a lot, if it's just a client, I'll offer them to pay half up front, and that's the cost of materials and stuff, and then the rest on delivery or the next payday. But if I'm dealing with an organization, or if I'm dealing with a company, I fully expect.
Oh, absolutely.
Payment, because like, I am not doing things like, for the individual. I get it. Times are tough, but they still really want something. I'll work with you. Organization, you wouldn't be reaching out to me if you didn't have those funds already allocated. And that's just it.
Yeah, that's the thing, though. Like, there can be a fine line, and you have to use your judgment when you're doing that. But I've also done it to where somebody asked me before they even place the order, can I pay in installments? And the way my invoicing works, and you use Square as well, correct? You can do increments and have them pay incrementally. Now, if they miss like milestones in that, then, I mean, as long as materials are paid, I will most likely finish the job before the date, just in case you pay right up front, or, you know, with the remaining balance. But you're not getting it, you know what I mean, until you pay.
Yeah, that's it. And I mean, you have to make those rules, and you gotta be upfront with people. I mean, that's just the way it goes, unfortunately.
Hey, Nap, you ever been stiffed for a job?
No, but it was close.
It was close. Wasn't that? Oh, that was a government thing, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well,
not too long ago, wasn't it?
Yeah. Just let me get this. Let me get the salt. Hang on. Let me reopen.
Oh, was that? That was the glasses, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was an interesting one. But yeah, we'll just say I did. Just say I got my money.
Well, so here's another thing though. If you're using like say you have a government organization that's supposed to pay you, they're always going to pay me up front for everything. I don't care how much it costs because I know exactly how the government works. We all worked in the government for a long time when they're like, oh, well, that was the last guy in this position. I don't know anything about it. Like, no, dude, you're going to pay for everything up front, especially if it's the DOD, because for some reason money just vanishes. You know what I mean?
Oh, I did want to bring this up before we finally did something I've been meaning to do, and I meant to bring this up during my skit, is I did a crosscut sled for my table saw. And the first one I turned out, it wasn't good enough. Basically, what happened was when I went to do the 5-cut method, it was like 1/32 off, 1/64 off over a 24-inch length. And I'm like, I can't. That's okay. I could do better. So I tore it apart and I redid it. And I basically ended up with a 0.002 over 24 inches, which I think is incredibly good. And I wanted to brag about that because I don't want to hear it. I want to see. Nah, if you can shake your head. What's yours? Do you have a crosscut sled even?
No, because I have my anchor miter jig. I'm good.
I have Harvey, and I use that. But I mean, like for small pieces, you can't beat a good crosscut sled.
Okay, no. You can't beat it, no. But we'll just say I've MacGyvered some things. Maybe a little close to the blade, but I've MacGyvered some things.
Yes, you can. But, I recently, I forget exactly what it was. I needed to do a very small piece, and I got close to that blade enough to be like, you know what? I have some extra plywood. There's no reason I can't do this real quick. And I used the other one on my D-bolt a lot. Granted, I didn't have a miter gauge that worked really well, but I think I'll use both still. I mean, like, it's nice to have that flat surface. It's going to only be for, obviously, 90-degree cuts, nothing crazy. And, small pieces. But I wanted to make it long enough just in case I did come across, like, I wanted to cut a quick straight edge for something. And 24 inches seemed to be that length that would be good for that. So I was happy with that. And, it's just another jig in the shop. So, but you guys got anything else to add? We're coming up to an hour here. We can kind of close up shop and
no, but I do
get ready for Turkey Day.
I do want to just give some thoughts, maybe for those listening. So I was talking to a guy named Jason. He doesn't have like an official business like handle on Instagram. I talked about him last podcast. So he actually came up with a very interesting proposal. It's kind of like that 30-day maker challenge, but it's more of a 24-hour maker challenge. So yeah, interesting, right? So he picks the material and how he said it. And actually, I'm just going to read it from what he said to me because I don't want to jack this up because he'll be listening to this episode. So he said, all right. He says, okay, I will send you a picture of material. Give me 2 items that I might have in my garage, and I will include them in the picture. And then he's like, you will come up with something for me to make with those 2 tools and the material that I provided. It has to be something relatively small-ish because you're not going to do like an entirely huge build, right? But he has 24 hours to make it. Construct it, but not finish because, that's, sanding, painting, all that stuff like that. So what ended up happening is I was like, you know what? I'll make it somewhat easy, right? But not like extremely easy. So I said your 2 tools were the table saw and a brad nailer / pin nailer. He's like, well, I don't have a pin nailer, but I have a finishing nailer. I was like, okay, so then you'll use that. So he took a picture of some 2 1/4 wide old oak flooring. And he took with his finishing nailer and his rigid table saw, right? And I was like, okay, you'll start at this time and whatever. So I told him, I want you to make some kind of geometric wall art design. And he came up with something good. He goes, I don't like it. I was like, that's pretty darn good for some old flooring. Now, if you're watching, this is it right here. This is what he made.
There you go. Nice. He got it out.
Yeah, I know. I was like, yeah, you wouldn't catch me doing that because, first of all, I don't even know where to start. Like, I know it's angles and stuff, but that's a lot of darn pieces. Like, I'd say he got after it. A somewhat complex design.
There's a technique of woodworking that
lattice
people do with that. What's it called?
Lattice. There's also Kamiko.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking
but
for.
that's like weaving it. That's weaving it and stuff.
Yeah, Paul Sauter talked about that on Kamiko Kid episode.
Oh, by the way, I talked to Paul. He wants to come back on, so we're going to talk about woodcraft and the brand new grand opening of of Rockler in San Antonio. Sorry, Paul.
But yeah, so that was the challenge though, and he delivered. And I'm wondering if there are any makers out there that want to maybe join in on this type of challenge. That'd be pretty cool, I think. You know, just see who wants to do stuff, challenge themselves in the shop if they don't have anything else better to do. And maybe we'll post it up. We'll post it up on the page as people complete stuff. I'm probably going to post this up on the Sawdust Nation page and just kind of give what was put into it. So good job, Jason. I'd say you did a pretty good job for 24 hours, whether you liked it or not. I think it looks pretty cool. So
yeah, definitely good enough for government.
Well
work.
done.
He used to be government, so he knows.
For December. Have choose a maker every other day or so that wants to do it, and we post it up, spotlight them.
Could do that
during December.
Could do that. Did I tell you I went and saw Ducky? Was that last week? I don't remember what day it was. It was this past weekend, I think. By the way, I want to thank Ducky from Ducky's Mesquite, Donald Starnes. This guy, check it out. He has, as you all probably already know if you've listened before, but Donald Starnes has his own sawmill, and he cuts up mesquite and pecan and whatever wood whatever he can get his hands on. Well, he's building a kiln. So yeah, nice. And it's this 20-foot container, and he's got like heaters, and he's putting up shelves in there for the racks for the lumber, dehumidifier, all that stuff. I don't think the dehumidifier is there yet. That's what's halting him, but he's doing. I've seen it, and man, it's gonna be great because it's gonna allow him to charge more for his lumber now. So it doesn't have to dry for 2 years before you go and use it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm excited for him. So shout out to Ducky.
Lucky Duck.
Yeah.
His nickname.
Lucky Ducky. But we want to let you guys know that, the Sawdust Nation podcast is brought to you by PWN CNC. Check him out, pwncnc.com. Daniel over there, I'm sure he's having a Black Friday sale. What say you there, Nap?
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure he says he's got all week sales or something like that because he's just been pushing out media and also sneak, previews and hints of things he's got going on in the shop. So definitely check him out at that pwncnc.com or at the Facebook pwncnc or the Instagram, the Facebook, Instagram, but he puts a lot of his messages on Facebook.
Also, if you want to save 10% off your order, use promo code SawdustNation 981. And that will get you 10% off anything and everything in the store. After, I'm going to pause here, and I want to say, if you own a Onefinity, you should be excited right now. We're not sponsored by them, but I just saw they're releasing a whole bunch of brand new stuff. They got this big, beefy new slider for their Z-axis.
Just don't. I'm mad about that right now.
Why? Go buy it.
Because I want it.
Go buy it.
I can't afford
you need to call them and get a sponsorship so you can anyway, if you're listening there, Onefinity, Nap needs a sponsorship from you guys. He already owns the machine. He just needs the Z slider. Anyway. Also, if you're making some cool stuff out of acrylic, check out makerstock.com. And although we are not sponsored by them, we are just an affiliate. You can save 10% off your initial order by using promo code Sawdust10. Oh, I almost forgot. How can I forget the TB? You got TB? I got TB. I'm talking about that Totalboat. Check them out, totalboat.com for 10% off your order at Totalboat. You got to slide into our DMs and we'll hook you up. And last but not least, looking for an OMTech Laser? We know you are. Call us. We'll hook you up. We'll get you squared away. Nap is the laser guru. But they are our affiliate, and we have the in like Flynn with the OMTech. So check them out. I believe that's it for sponsors. Patrons, one more time, thank you. I took that from Nap.
Yeah, it's okay. You can take that from me. Hey, but also real quick, if you ever look at our mentions, you also notice another maker in there. Old Brent Jarvis of it, Clean Cut Woodworking. He's got his sleds up there, and we still have a promo code with him. I'm pretty sure it's Sawdust something or another. But hey, take a look at the mentions. You'll see the code is 5% off his router sleds. If you have big slabs that you like to flatten, I know some makers have listened to the podcast and have gotten some sleds and had nothing but good reviews on them. Give him a visit. Give him some love.
Brent Jarvis, good people. I'll tell you that.
He is. He is real good people.
Yes, he is.
But hey, check it out, folks. So if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, whatever other, I can't think for some reason of any of the other podcast catchers, but hey, you search us on Google, you look us up on any of those things, you will find us. Give us 5 stars. And if you don't give us 5 stars, tell us why. Because if you don't tell us what you want, what you really, really want, we can't give you that content. But hey, also give us some good feedback on the 5-star rating so we can go give you even better content. Maybe some topic ideas or any of those things. I know a couple of people have reached out and given some really good insight. And we might even have those individuals on the show because they've got a lot of good insight as far as businesses and maybe for the military listeners, after military avenues for starting your small business and those things. And, we'll eventually have them on so we can have those business-oriented episodes for you folks out there. But if you want to get a hold of us, Josh, how do they get a hold of us?
It's easy, guys. All you have to do is get on social media, Instagram, get a hold of all 3 of us by reaching out at Sawdust Nation podcast page. You're going to reach all 3 of us at the same time. You never know who you're going to get, but that's half the fun. If you want to reach us individually, go ahead and do that by reaching out to Nick at MPG Creations or Nap from Nap's Nutty Works LLC, myself from North Country Woodworking. If you don't like social media, go ahead and reach us at our email account, sawdustnationpodcast@gmail.com. We're going to get back to you as soon as we can, talk about your shop, what's going on, projects you're working on, and so forth. And ultimate way to get part of the podcast and be included in every episode is become a Patreon 3rd tier. You can join us every episode, weigh in on what we're talking about, add topic ideas and questions, or just joke in the comment. With that, let's do final words, starting off from that.
Just like always, folks, keep taking care of each other. The community doesn't really get any stronger unless we keep helping each other out. I know I get messages almost on the daily. Sometimes it's weekly, but mostly daily, about helping with whatever it may be, whether it's etching glass or making shadow boxes or any of those things. More than happy to help. And don't worry, I won't charge you $75 for it. Nick.
Like always, take care of yourselves and each other. And remember, folks, Thanksgiving's, it's release day. So today, happy Thanksgiving. I hope you guys are eating some turkey. And by the time this releases, it'll be Thursday, okay? I hope you're all, getting fat and happy, eating your pumpkin pie and your, what else do people eat? Turkey. And
green bean casserole, freaking sweet potato,
cock meat sandwiches, all that. So, Josh,
that's leftovers in your house, huh?
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. Thank you for joining us for the 126th episode. Happy Thanksgiving from us to you, and turn us on during Thanksgiving so we can whisper in your ear. And then when you're done full, go to your shop, go make some sawdust, and Sawdust Nation podcast out.
Don't turn us on during Thanksgiving dinner. That's just tacky.
Sawdust Nation podcast. 3 dudes talking about hardwood.
Turn us on afterwards so you can purge and then go eat some dessert.